What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the Montana Method Podcast one more time. As always, your host, Nelson Rodriguez Jr., author of Montana Method. Today, I have an outstanding guest, even more outstanding than usual. A person I have been able to watch her evolution from like 2 years ago, and she is blowing it up on Instagram. I would dare to call her the comedy queen of New York Instagram right now. She is killing it, destroying it. She's gotten to the point where it's impossible to watch one of her reels without dying of laughter. I commented on one of her reels and just one of my comments got 5,000 likes. That should tell you how popular she is right now. Anyway, without further ado, my good friend, Jasmine Ruiz.
I've been out here hustling all my life. Every day we get into it. Really out here in these streets. That's day and night. Like there's nothing to it. When I was going through it, dog, I never got your call. I never asked for nothing, no. But now I want it all. Promise I'ma do it. Came from rags to riches. Rags to riches. Came from rags to riches. Rags to riches. Came from rags.
What's up?
Hello, what's up? Thank you so much for having me.
Of course.
No, I'm really happy to be here. And thank you for the intro. Comedy Queen of New York. Toot the horn.
I had to put a little caveat, the Instagram comedy queen of New York. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's true. That's very
true.
No.
Listen, there's a difference. I've done stand-up. I do Instagram. Trust me, there's a huge difference. I will actually be returning to stand-up this year because I haven't done it in a while. And
sweet.
I got to get back out there. So I'm really excited for that.
Yeah, I would love to go to one of your shows if you ever have a show when I'm in New York. So
yes,
awesome.
we have one coming up soon. I know you're not going to be in New York, but for the 12th, I'm so excited for that one. Hilarious, all the hilarious girls. For anyone listening that doesn't know, Hilarious is just like a female variety show. Bunch of dope comedians, all women, killing it in New York. Their sketch, their stand-up is a little bit of everything.
Super dope. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to be back.
Yeah, no, listen, you're the second guest I've ever had to be reinvited, and both of you were on the audio version, so Montana Method 1.0, and now you're on the third season of my Montana Method 3.0.
Lit, so exciting.
You know, with my full set,
Yo, congrats to you with the full set. I see you elevated. Stay elevated.
I appreciate that. That makes two of us. Right?
Yeah, here, look, I got my blue screen in the back for my auditions, the elevation.
That's dope. That's super dope. So, Jasmine, I know you're creating content full time now?
I'm doing me full time, not content full time, because I'm I'm a jack of all trades. I do a little bit of everything. So I'm creating a lot of things. But yes, I quit my full-time job, so now I have a part-time job. But full-time, I'm doing content. I'm working on my show. I am auditioning. I'm doing modeling. I'm doing everything creative under the sun.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Yeah. My show, I'm a big advocate of going after your dreams. You are definitely doing it, not just going after them. Just some of them are coming to fruition. So I congratulate you. It is one thing to talk about going after what you want in life, and it's a whole nother avenue to actually start getting some results. So I commend
that is true, because by the time you get results, you've been doing it for a long time, probably by yourself, and have fought with doubt 100 times. You know, I'm going on year 6 or 7, doing creative things, and it has been 6-7 years of pivoting, and you need to really know how to pivot and to realize when something isn't working and be in touch with yourself and be like I don't feel the joy in it anymore, so that you could hop to the next thing. And you can't be scared to hop to the next thing, because you're not starting over. You're starting from the experience that you just had. So where I am right now, I have a bunch of things that I wouldn't even say I failed at them. I would just say I did them and decided I didn't want to do them anymore and moved on. But talking about it and being about it are really different. And to be about it, you got to be able to withstand a lot of pivoting and starting over, and of course self-doubt creeps in, but also success, because when you have a lot on your plate, you might want to take some things off, but you ask for that. That's literally your prayers being answered with opportunity. So I think you just have to learn how to juggle. But yeah, talk about it, be about it. Being about it is really hard.
Being about it is hard, but it separates the entrepreneurs from the entrepreneurs. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So there's a big difference between just and doing it. You know what I mean? And doing it isn't easy, but the dream is all we got, Jazz. If we don't chase the dream, what are we doing? Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
I think about that all the time. I had a conversation recently, and not that recent, a few months ago, about dreaming, right? And no shade to anyone that is like doesn't have a big super dream. You know what I'm saying? Like if everyone had a dream that they were chasing, the world would literally crash and burn. Like not everyone has dream. Like literally not everyone has like a dream and a passion and this thing that they feel like they're here to do. So, for the people that don't have that, like I also think that's a really interesting existence. I couldn't do it because all I know is like my current existence as I'm living it, So I'm like, well, what the hell would I be doing without a dream, But there are plenty of people that are like so happy in their regards, and not everyone dreams of accolades and a mansion with a pool bigger than Drake's or whatever. You know what I'm saying? Not that those are what the things are about. For me, my dream is really more about like freedom, and just freedom to like do what I want, freedom to have my schedule, freedom to. If I want to take a year off, be with my family, to be able to do that. If I want to go on a world tour and see the world, I'll be able to do that. So.
I'm with that 110%. And in all fairness, everybody's dreams are different. Some people's dreams is just to have a family and raise good kids. Like, that's fair. I get it.
That's a great dream.
Yes.
We need that in society. We need people that want to raise good kids and be family 100%. People, especially in a society that I feel like every day becomes less family oriented. Just my thought.
I'm with you. And there's enough assholes in the world, so we need good people to raise good people.
Absolutely. No, it's
for
so
sure.
True. It's so true.
Yeah. So if that's your dream, I'm with it. I mean, listen, I'm a person that if your dream was to become a teacher and you did it, I'm with it. Like,
but then you're a dreamer. Like everyone's dream is defined by how they define a dream. So, like what I just said, like that's my definition of a dream,
Exactly.
Like, I dream of this freedom. I dream of like endless opportunity. But some people are like, no, I dream of like having a classroom and knowing that I've made all of those students' lives better and I contributed to the future of society in that way. You know what I'm saying? Right. I want to contribute with some jokes. You know what I'm saying? Like everyone has their own contribution and their own dream.
Right.
So yeah, not to say that people aren't dreamers. Not to say that. I guess everyone's dream is different.
Definitely. So yeah, whatever. So a long time ago, I heard the definition of success, or a definition, right? Because everybody has their own definition for things. Mm-hmm. I heard success is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. And I said, okay. So that's basically progressively working towards something worthwhile. Like, I was like, okay, that makes sense to me. You're already succeeding if you're on the way, right? Like, you don't even have to get to the destination. If you see yourself taking steps and progressing, right, you're succeeding. And for me, I within that, I actually had a realization. Progress is happiness. Whenever you see yourself getting better and getting closer to a goal, you couldn't get any happier because the progress is like, seeing yourself get closer is where the happiness comes from, not from arriving. You know what I mean? Like the journey.
Okay. I hear what you're saying. It's the journey. The journey, I think needs to breathe happiness. Otherwise, you're not happy during the journey, but also it's going to rob your happiness like when you actually reach the destination. In terms of the definition, I hear you. It's a lofty definition. I don't know if I agree with the definition. I like something a little more tangible. But I can respect the perspective. For me, success looks like it's like a tangible thing. You know what I'm saying? Like you have health, you have wealth, and you have happiness. And in that order, not in that order. Happiness is throughout. But you know what I'm saying? Like you're in a space where your nervous system is not activated. You are at peace and just have an abundance of resources and a wonderful family. That's my definition of success. But I can understand someone saying, well, it's the journey in and of itself is successful. I wouldn't agree with that, because if you personally, I'm just like, well, if I'm like financially struggling on this journey, I don't feel successful. Like, by my definition, you could be successful. You know what I'm saying? But there's so many comedians out here hustling. You know what I'm saying? Hopping from comedy show to comedy show, doing 4, 5, 6 shows a night. You know, that's a hustle. That is a hustle. And comedy does not pay as well as when you're on your way up. You know what I mean? So
for sure,
they're successful. But I'm sure you guys, like, how many comedians have jokes about not having a lot of money? So success. I'm sorry. There's like tangible aspects. Yeah, it's a whole bit. There are tangible aspects of success, but cute little definition.
I get it. But the main thing is, like, I've been a person on the other side of the goal, right? I've hit a goal and I've smashed past it, right? I've gone way past it. So when I got there, it felt great, right? But what stood out the most in my mind wasn't getting there and having the celebratory moment. It was all the different moments that got me there. You know what I mean? That stood out for me personally, and that I really, once I got to the goal, I really enjoyed. Yeah, you enjoy that moment, but there's so many other moments that I really enjoyed and brought joy to my heart, because I stuck through it, and I was proud of myself. And you know what I mean? It's just the journey is so important. And I think it's undervalued nowadays. You know what I mean? Maybe I understand how someone can maybe see that that's not being successful, but it is such a big part of the process that I think we get to enjoy, because the journey is longer than the destination. And if you're not enjoying the journey, then, you know what I mean?
The destination is actually a moment. Like, there's a moment that you actually hit it. And you're like, oh, I'm here. And however long that moment lasts depends on what your destination is. But even what you said about, like, the goal, I have a hard time with the idea of like you can have a goal, right? Like, I really want to get my show on HBO. That is my long-term goal. But you can't obsess about the goal. You have the goal and you take your steps to get there, and you think about it, but don't obsess about it, like you said, in an unhealthy way, because then, that's all you're worrying about, and then you can't enjoy the journey, And I feel like, having the goal there as a reminder is great, but obsessing about it to the point where you don't appreciate the journey because all you have is this tunnel vision, I think that's so sad. And I feel like there are a lot of people out there that have tunnel vision. I can't relate. I do too many things to have tunnel vision on anything. But yeah. What I mean about tunnel vision? Do you have tunnel vision?
Tunnel vision, I mean, in all fairness though, even though you do several things at once, you kind of do have tunnel vision, because it takes focus to get those things done. You know what I mean? Like, if you didn't have focus, nothing would get done. Not one of those things.
Right. But for me, tunnel vision, it lacks balance. I have a lot of balance. So in being focused, like, I always make sure that, like, I have time for friends, and I have time for family, and I have time just to, like, do things that I need to do. And there are a lot of people whose tunnel vision does not allow that. So that's what I mean when I say tunnel vision, where you're just like, no, I can't do that social thing. I got to work on this. I feel like that's really detrimental. And people might misconstrue that as like, yeah, I'm chasing a goal. I'm being hungry. I'm being a go-getter. But balance is so important, especially for me. And maybe I say this because I come from a creative mindset and creative background, but I need to live in order to create. If all I'm doing is working, like, my content is not as good. Like, and since I've left my job, my content has been better because I left my job, and I'm not in that, like, work mindset the way that I would have to be for a corporate role. Even during quarantine, when I started popping, I wasn't working. I was furloughed. So it's like, you need to live to create.
You weren't working, but you know what you had? You had passion. So that's where I think that's like the X factor when we're talking about a work ethic. Like, you can if you have passion for something and you really love something, you can obsess over it and you'll never feel tired. You'll never hate doing it. like a 9 to 5, that's not really something most people are passionate about. So
Right.
you can hate doing that. Obviously, most people hate doing that. But when you're pursuing a passion, like when you went from working full time to working on yourself full time, it was a whole different ballgame. Like life took on a whole different meaning. Life wasn't the same. So you could do content all day, or you could go, do this sponsorship and partner up with this person. Like you could do that all day because to you it's not work; it's what you love.
Right.
You see
Right.
the difference?
No, absolutely. I 100%, 100%. Especially after, I mean, I was juggling corporate and creative for like 7 years. So 6 years. So yeah, definitely feel you heavy on that.
For sure. What's interesting? So what's it like? I've been dying to ask you this question. What's it like to have an Ivy League degree and be like a full-time, like be like full-time hustle on yourself?
It's interesting. My mom is always like, you never use your degree. And I tell her, like, I use it every day.
Right?
Everything I learned in school, like, it's just things outside of the textbooks. You learn so much in school outside of the textbooks. It's about people, about human beings, and from different places in the world. Like, so much of that I use every day. I also took psych, so I'm not gonna lie, I be analyzing people. So it's a little pastime. But it's rewarding still. Your education is something that no one can take from you, and I don't feel no type of way that I'm not using it. I feel like some people, like, quote unquote, not using it, meaning that, like, I'm not in academia or I'm not in like a corporate role, and I decided to go be a comedian and a writer and an actress and all this other stuff. For me, I think it feels great. No one can take that away from me, and I think it helps me, especially in terms of like strategy and I plan my future. And sometimes it may look like everything's off the cuff, and sometimes things are off the cuff. But like there's a short term and there's a long term goal here, and I've been able to think that through. I think because I think my education has helped me with that, and yeah, I just feel grateful. It feels a little cool though, like being like, yeah, F the man, like I'm doing my dream. I'm taking my own route.
That's dope.
I think anyone that has like, gotten a degree and entered corporate America and left it, I think will stay the same.
Yeah. So I've met both people. I've met people like yourself who are doing phenomenal things and not using their degree and did go to college. And I've also met people who didn't go to college and turned out to do great things as well. And I've heard both stories where I've heard the person who was like, man, I wish I would have went to college. And I've also heard the people say, oh man, I wish I never would have went to college. And people don't realize that whatever you went through is whatever you were supposed to go through. Like you went to college and you got that degree for a reason, even though you're not using it. Like that was a part of your path. If you never would have done that, you probably wouldn't be where you are right now.
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And I've also heard people say that about, their education, or I've heard people with Ivy League degrees say, yeah, I don't think anyone needs to go to college. And I'm just like, like, how could you say that? But I think it also determines that idea or that perspective is determined by where you come from also. So I come from a place where, education ended up being like my salvation in a sense. Like that was like the way out, and it worked.
Right.
It was a proven success. And not everyone comes from that background. So I feel like the people that are like, oh, I should have never got this education. I'm just like, okay, well, where did you start off? Because I needed this to break a cycle. So I'm always back and forth on the education comment or discussion, especially now as like less people enroll into college across the board, just like total numbers wise, because they're finding that the ROI isn't there because they're graduating to make $55,000 and they just pay that for one year, Yeah, but I still think college is worthwhile. I think the ROI is decreasing because wages are not increasing. So we'll see how that plays out, I guess, in the future as time unrolls.
I feel you on on that education was the way out. That's how it was when I was a kid. And I got good grades. I ended up going to college, and then it broke my mother's heart when I dropped out of college. Oh my God. she was like, your life is over. You're going to be a bum.
I can imagine.
And you know how Spanish people, Spanish moms, and you're Puerto Rican. So you're like, almost, I'm Cuban. So we're like right there, dog. You know what's up. Like Spanish moms don't play. She was livid. I felt so bad, but not for myself, because I knew if I would have found entrepreneurship at a younger age, I probably never would have went to college. I went to college because I thought it was the only way out, right? But then I got a little older, and I was like, wait, there's people who make a lot of money who never went to college? Wait a second. Wait, what do you do? What does this guy do for a living? And then I was lucky enough to get around the right people who were really successful business owners fresh out of high school at 18 years old. And I got mentorship, and I saw that there was a different way to do things. And obviously, if you want to be an engineer, if you want to be a doctor, if you want to be a lawyer, you have to go to college. I'm not saying college isn't necessary. What I'm saying is it's not in everybody's path. It's necessary for some people, and it's not necessary for others. I don't think there's like a black and white blueprint.
Right, you know exactly. I mean? No black and white. No black and white. And yeah, 100%. Like it depends, because there are people that don't go to college, but they have families that can, act as their mentors and show them the ropes of things. And I feel for people who don't have that, college is such a huge help to gain mentorship and guidance and kind of discover what you want to go into, especially when you're not like pushed down a path. For me, my mom was always like, be a lawyer, be a lawyer, be a lawyer. And then I went to school, and Barnard, like, everyone's like saving the world, like vibes, and they want you to, be an academic and STEM, whatever it is. But I never really considered a career in anything creative, even though I was always creative. It literally never even occurred to me, like, oh, that can be a career path. So I wish I had known it sooner, because if I had known it sooner, I could have majored in dance and film and acting and all of these other things. But like you said, it unrolls, like life happens the way it's supposed to happen, and it needed to happen that way.
100%. I have recently uncovered in life, not recently, I knew this over time, but it really dawned on me recently. I used to see life as a struggle, and now I see life differently. I see life more like an ocean or something, or a river, something with a flow. And everybody's river and the way the water flows for their life is different. Like, water isn't rigid. Water's not a rock. Water flows, and it becomes the form of whatever it consumes. If you pour it in a teacup, it becomes a teacup. If you pour it in a bottle, it becomes a bottle. If you throw it in the ocean, it's just this big body of water that covers the earth. So that's what I see humans as now. I understand the gray area now. Everybody's not the same. Everybody doesn't have the same story. Everybody doesn't have the same circumstances. Everybody's body doesn't react the same to foods. Everybody's body doesn't react the same to different exercises. Everybody doesn't enjoy math. Everybody doesn't. You see what I mean? Like, I've understood the gray area that is life, and I don't even know how to contextualize it. It's one of the most beautiful things I've ever realized. Like, that's what makes the human race so awesome, that we all are. There's one Jasmine Ruiz. There's one Nelson Rodriguez. There's one Rick H. Like, there's only one of each of us, and each of us have such an awesome gift to share with the world. And I think that's really just a matter of figuring out what that flow is. And once you figure that out, that's basically when life starts going your way. Am I making sense?
You're making sense. No, everyone's unique, and things work when you lean into your unique nature. And I think that's how I interpret what you're saying. And it's true. Everyone is unique, and everyone does have like their own path that they need to take. And sometimes that path has been forged, and it may not be a unique path. That doesn't mean you're not unique. And sometimes it's a path that has never been forged yet, and you're the first to do it. And you have to like just dig through the mud and figure it out. And that kind of just makes me think about like intuition and asking yourself questions and
Super
listening
important.
to the answer.
Super
Your
important.
intuition is like from the universe itself. So if everyone were to follow like their unique path, guided by their intuition and their energy, everyone would be living a fulfilling life. And for some people, like you and I feel like we can do that. You're living your truth, I'm living my truth, and you live in alignment with what your gut tells you. Not everyone has that luxury, because some people have already, kids and responsibilities and things like that. So they may not be able to do that at this very moment. Having said that, I think it's really important for everyone to try to do that as best they can, because that's when you actually reach happiness. We talked about happiness earlier, and your goals and your journey. It's really hard. You have to mention intuition when you talk about those things, because that's when you're in alignment and all of that like starts to make sense.
For sure. I think that's because people don't listen to that gut feeling and don't listen to that voice in their head. That's what leads to like inner turmoil and like depression.
Absolutely.
I've felt it and I've experienced it. When I choose to, that's when my body and my mind, my spirit are just in chaos. Like there's no balance within me whatsoever. And whenever I am listening to that voice and I am letting kind of my spirit and my heart and my gut talk to me and I listen to it, everything in not 100% of the things in my life work out, but I would say like 75 to 80% of the things in my life work out. It's almost like something coming to me, you know what I mean? Trying to tell me like, maybe, if you're religious and you're listening to this, maybe it's God or whatever you want to call it. I don't call it anything. I just say it's my spirit and what's within me. When I do listen to that, it falls back into what I was saying about being in flow. Like you're in flow state and things work out because you're in alignment. You know what I mean? Like when something isn't in alignment, like when a car part is like not the screws and the bolts aren't bolted on right and it's all crooked and stuff, you try to drive that car, a wheel's gonna fly off. You know what I mean? But when everything's in alignment and those screws are tight and that wheel is spinning, you could go 100 miles per hour and that car's gonna perform at peak performance. That's humans. Like when everything is in alignment, you're this spiritual being in a human experience that's designed to do great things, and you can do those great things whenever you're coming from that place of intuition. I'm with you 100%. Intuition is big.
Absolutely.
And I wish more people would follow their intuition and not self-doubt. Going back to what you said.
I wouldn't call it self-doubt. I'm gonna hit you with something. So okay, I agree. I wish more people would follow it. I have not always followed my intuition, and it wasn't because of like self-doubt. It was because I could not identify it, and I didn't know what it was. And if no one tells you about intuition, that it's a thing that exists and teaches you how to listen to your body and listen to yourself, then I think you interpret that as like anxiety or, depression or however you interpret that. But ultimately what it is a lack of alignment. And it wasn't until like I hit a point where I'm like, oh my God, I am physically unwell that I realized, I think this is what my intuition is, because I literally can't. I need to listen to it now and I need to answer it. But yeah, like ideally you wouldn't get to that point because you would know. So some people just need a guide, I think, to teach them that, there is like something, like your spirit will talk to you and listen to it. And it's physical. It's a physical thing you can feel.
Super important. Sure. That actually, this is a good segue. So do you think that, so me personally, I write about the Pathfinder's Pyramid in my book. And one of the stages is distraction, right? So we go from survival, like just trying to figure it out, trying to pay the rent, trying to pay bills, trying to put food on the table, that kind of stuff. And then you grow out of that a little bit, and then you go into distraction. Now it's like I'm living a comfortable life and I can afford to like go to every concert and go to every nightclub and hang out with the girls every night and go to Puerto Rico and Dominican Republic and Costa Rica and Colombia and have all these great vacations. And I think I'm living in purpose, but I'm really distracted. I'm just like looking for constant stimulation. So do you think, my question, and then I'll play off you based off what you say. Do you think distraction and looking for external stimulation is a way to run away from that voice?
Absolutely. Absolutely. It can be. And the reason I say it can be is because I think when you are not living in alignment and you're doing all of those things, then it's distraction. However, when you're living in alignment and you're doing all of those things, I think it's passion. And it is, you honoring yourself with great experiences that are going to fuel you because you seek adventure or you seek peace, whatever it is, the experience that you are going after is. But if you're not living in alignment and, all you can think about is doing those things, it's 100% escapism. So it all comes down to, what is your day to day? If you're loving your day to day and you want to do those things, phenomenal, treat yourself. If you're hating your day to day and you want to do those things, then you need to figure out how to make your day to day better. And then see, do you even still want to do those things? Or is it just because you hate your day to day? When I'm really sad or mad or whatever it is, I be dying for a vacation. When I'm loving my day to day, I'm not thinking about a vacation. I'm like, oh yeah, I have this, then I have this coming up. You have things to look forward to. You're really happy. You're making waves on your journey. You're on your path. But when you're not, all that shit is a lovely distraction.
Definitely. The vacation, right? It's like, it's the average person's way of escaping their life. And if you want to escape from your life, you hate your life. So obviously something's wrong.
Right.
You're so right. When you're living that purpose and you're on fire and you're like loving your life, you're not thinking about going on vacation. You're not thinking, why would I want to escape from this reality? I love this reality. Like this is This is what I wanted all along.
You don't need the vacation. If that's it, you just don't need the
vacation. My life is what I wanted. I don't want to get away from this.
Right. You don't desire it.
Exactly. I think, who was it I read a book. I think it was Richard Branson that said that I go on vacation and I'm counting the minutes to when I get back home because my life is the story. It's what I look forward to. It's the dream. Like some people look forward to going to sleep so they can dream. I look forward to waking up so I can live. You know what I mean?
But that's also not to say that people can't want to go on vacation. You know what I'm saying? Because somebody's like, yo, Jazz, you want to go to Turks and Caicos? Like, I'm out. We out. We out. Let's go. And I love my day-to-days. So
I love traveling. I'm with you. Not to say don't travel. Travel.
Still great.
I love traveling.
Traveling is great. We're not hating on traveling.
No, not at all. Not at all. Mm-hmm. No, traveling. So I'm a firm believer that there's three natural, like these three things develop you as a person naturally, like without any. The process of going through these things just develop you as a person, and they level you up. So first is entrepreneurship, whether that could be acting, that could be singing, that could be opening a traditional business, like anything that's entrepreneurial or creative. That develops you to a level that I can't even describe because there's so much problem solving and like getting uncomfortable and being around new people. There's so many different circumstances in that where you're forced to do things you would never do, that you become a person you could never become had you not gone through that process, right?
Absolutely.
Process number 2 is getting in shape. It takes serious discipline and serious effort and serious consistency to get in shape. Like I've lost about 40 pounds in the last 6 months.
Congratulations.
Thank you. And it took some hard work. It takes consistency. It takes me talking to myself and tricking myself into liking doing these push-ups or lifting these weights. Like I have to get into that kind of mindset to really keep myself on track. So that's number 2. Number 3 is traveling, bro. When you travel the world and you meet new people and you see new cultures and you try new foods, and you see new places, your mind, at least my mind, when I've gone to these places and I've met these people and I've had these humbling experiences where I'm just so humbled to like sit on a mountain in Colombia and look up at the sky at night and see all these stars and like it's just these beautiful experiences that can only be done in person, right? You can't a picture on Instagram. No, dog. You got to go to Costa Rica. You got to go to Rancho de Lapia. You got to go to these places I've been to and like see these things and be around these people to be like, wow, the world is like so much more than I ever thought it could be.
Especially
you know
on being around the people. Like, I think that, so many people are in their bubble. There's like, you probably heard this joke that Americans don't have passports and blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Traveling is so important. You learn about people, you learn about cultures, you just finally get out your bubble for once. Like, I know people that have never left the Bronx, and I'm like, you gotta get out the Bronx. Crazy, like, recently someone, I ain't gonna say who, but someone, I was like, oh, I want to go to the beach. I want to go with you, but I'm not getting in the water. Like, oh, you don't get in this water? Let me guess. You only get in the water in PR or DR or whatever. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, oh, like you forget where you come from. Yeah. I'm like, it's not that I forgot where I come from. Like growing up, yeah, I was in that water every day. Orchard Beach, I'm there. But once you experience more, it's like, well, now I don't want to do that anymore because I've had better. And that's okay. People, I feel like, shit on that so often. And it's okay to not want to do shit you used to do anymore because now you're onto some new shit. Like there's nothing wrong with that. It doesn't mean you forgot where you came from. You just experience new things because you saw a little bit more of the world, and maybe that changed your standards a little bit. That's cool. That's cool. So yes, get out there and travel. And I love the fitness one too because I feel like that's the one thing that it's earned. You can't buy that.
Ooh.
Anyone could buy like a nice ass and boobs or whatever. Anyone can buy anything physical. Yo. You cannot buy muscles. Absolutely not. You gotta hit the gym for that. You gotta put in that work, that blood, sweat, and tears.
You know what no man on this earth can buy? Looking good in a suit. Like, you look good in a suit when you're in shape. And like that look you get and how you look in a photo. And when you look at a picture and you're like, man, like when I look at myself in a tank top now, I'm like, yo, who is that guy? You cannot buy that. You have to earn that, man. And it takes blood, sweat, and tears. Let me tell you, there's days where I was so sore, but I did it anyway. And it was that like grit and that moment of having to do the hard thing when you're physically in pain, not even mentally in pain. It's one thing to be mentally difficult or emotionally struggling, but to be physically hurt and still, that's why I love fighters, like UFC fighters, MMA fighters, boxing fighters. I love them because to be physically in pain and like have a cut on your face the size of the Statue of Liberty and like and still get up.
Fight.
Yo, I just had one of my really good friends, Danny Chavez. He used to fight in the UFC, and another buddy of mine, Tyler Goodjohn. He's a bare knuckle fighter. Like these guys, you see they're just different humans. Like they stand up to so much adversity, and they run face first into that shit. Like, yo, that's different. When you're physically in pain and you still choose to fight through it. You know who I've really gotten into lately is David Goggins. Yo, that guy is a monster.
I don't know
monster.
Him.
Like the stuff he does.
What does he do?
So David Goggins he's been titled the toughest man on the planet because the things he's been through in his life are pretty crazy. He once ran a 100-mile marathon with no training, and he did it successfully. I mean, at the end of it, he was in bad shape, but
your legs cramp up. I could imagine.
No, I mean, he was like, it was bad. But anyway, he did it. The guy is a Navy SEAL, so he went through Hell Week 3 times. I'm sure you've heard of Hell Week, right? In Navy SEAL.
I've heard of Hell Week. I don't know what it is, but I know it's hell. I get it.
It's known as like the most difficult thing a man can go through. He did it 3 times. Crazy. Yeah. The next hardest thing in the military is Army Ranger School. He did that. Like, just a list of a plethora of things that he purposely, he broke the world pull-up record, most consecutive pull-ups in 48 hours.
Wow.
Like, and then on top of all that, his childhood is so traumatic. Like the stuff he went through, I would suggest you buy, he has 2 books out. He has one called Can't Hurt Me and one called Never Finish. Either one will absolutely amaze you. If you listen to the audiobook, it's the audiobook, and then they do like a little mini podcast at the end of each chapter. It's really good. You would like it.
Okay,
so
I'll look that up. I love audiobooks.
Yeah. If you're ever struggling, like if you ever don't want to do a workout and you put on some David Goggins, trust me, you're going to want to do it.
You're going to finish the workout. You're going to do better than if you had even wanted to do the workout.
110%. This man, like the moment that changed his life, he was over 300 pounds. He was massive. He lost 90 pounds in like, what was it? Some ridiculous, like 90 pounds in 90 days, something crazy. Because he needed to make weight by a certain date to qualify to get into the Navy, the Naval Academy. And he was like, I'm doing it. Like, and if you look at his schedule to exercise, it's crazy. It's crazy. Get the audiobook, read the book.
All right, I'm going to have to check him out.
He's super fire. I think there's, me personally, my personality, like I see so much beauty in the darkness, like in going through that adversity and going through those really trying times, because if it's not for that resistance, you know what I mean? You're not stretching. Mm-hmm. Like a rubber band, it can't stretch if you don't pull it. And that's us when we grow, right? Like that stretch and that expansion that we feel it's painful, but that just means you're growing. You're getting bigger.
Right, of course. Of course.
Yeah.
Of course,
and I'm a person that's a big proponent of like the uncomfortable and the difficult and the tough and putting yourself in those challenging situations, because that's the only way you're ever going to see what you're made of. You know what I mean? Like
that is true. Sure.
Kudos to you, by the way. You work out
is a skill.
A lot. Kudos to you. You work out a lot. I see you on the stories.
Thank you.
You're consistent. So,
you know, I do my best. Sometimes I do fall off. Not gonna lie, I'm a human being. I do fall off sometimes. But recently I've been really consistent, and I mean, you just always feel a difference. It's hard because, I mean, I get so busy and my schedule gets packed, and and that's why I do fall off. But at the same time, you know, you have more energy if you go to the gym. So I could fit more in my schedule because I have a little more energy. Mm-hmm. It's kind of a catch-22. I feel like it's one of the things that, you know, sometimes I don't make time for, but I need to make time for it. But recently, yeah, I've been really consistent. The gains are coming in; they always coming in. So we out here, we on the gain train, and I've been eating my protein. Protein is the name of the game.
You're like an undercover. I saw that story you did in DR when you were like, "All right, everybody's been asking me how my abs come out perfect in every picture. Hold on, let me show you." You did
that is a real tactic. You got to just exhale to the point of near death, and you will see any muscles you have. Otherwise, I mean, you gotta exhale everything to see them.
You exhale to the point where you don't feel your stomach, like.
Yeah. When you feel like I can collapse, then you take the picture. Shoot, boom, done.
Yo, Price. Speaking of your stories, I'm glad we talked about stories because I needed to touch this subject. Yo, you putting the people who DM you on blast on your stories.
I'm over it. I'm over it with the stupid DMs and with the rude comments. I'm always the bigger person, and I'm a little tired. I'm be honest. I'm a little tired of being the bigger person. So I was like, I'm just gonna start an on blast series, and I'm gonna let people crucify themselves because I'm tired.
Bro,
I'm so tired.
Like, and I can't believe some people they're that shot at like some of the stuff you put on your stories. I've been like, yo, people really. It's 2023, dog. Like,
people really be, you know, in addition to the on blast segment though, I'm going to start another one to show all the love I get as well. Because I get a lot of love it's mostly love in my DMs. And then, you know, a couple of haters and freakos. But now that I think about that, I'm going to do a love series too.
All right. Yeah. So that way people don't think that's all you're getting in your DMs.
No. I'm getting so much support. So much support that I really appreciate from everybody, young, old, and literally everyone. It's really weird. The audience is wide.
Super fire. You ran into somebody the other day. I remember, I think it was, your stories are like, I compare people's stories to like the daily newspaper. There's a little group of people in my circle that I watch their stories every day. So it's like you, another friend of mine named Dave that lives down here in Miami. Like it's a small group of you guys. And I'm always like, oh, this is interesting. It's like I'm reading a newspaper. The other day you put up a story that like you ran into somebody on the street and they were like, "Oh my God, I follow you." What was that? That must have been like weird, right?
Oh, that was a while ago. No, someone was like, "Oh my God, yeah." They were like, "I follow you," and I was like, "Oh, hey." And then later on, they DM'd me and they were like, "You're really short." I was like, "Yeah, I'm very short. I'm like 5'2". I kind of just hit 5'2". I think I was 5'1" for a long time. But yeah, no, I love when that happens. It's so random. And I went to the mayor's event. There was like an event at Gracie mentioned for like Puerto Rican weekend, but it had been rained out, so they moved it to July. And I had a few people there hit me up too, and was like, "Oh my God!" I was like, "Oh my God!" So that always feels good because I'm like, not people loving my jokes. So I do appreciate that.
Did you? So are a lot of your followers local? Like, are they concentrated
them,
like in New York?
A lot of them are local. A lot of them are local. New York is definitely my biggest city, but also have a lot of people in Philly, Connecticut, some people in PR, and Jersey. Really like the 5 surrounding states type thing.
That's regional comedy is big. Like I can think of. I'm asking because down in Miami, we have like the Miami version of you guys. We have a guy named El Caballo who's actually going to be on the show soon. He's huge in Miami. He's Cuban, and his Cuban jokes in the Cuban community are like, killing it, like destroy it, right? So a regional comedy is a big thing. I remember Joe Rogan talking about it once on a podcast. He was talking about his days back in Boston, how he used to get up like on a stage in Boston, and there was this group of Boston guys who would just do like the Boston jokes to the Boston crowd, and they would destroy it. And then I realized, like, yeah, regional comedy is a thing. It is
true. It's true. I think the same jokes that work here wouldn't really work in Cali or some place that has like a naturally different culture. And it also depends on the crowd. Like I've said jokes to majority like white crowds, and it just didn't hit as hard as a Black and Spanish crowd. So you definitely have to know your audience and who you're speaking to, so that you can really cater to them. But yeah, localization, super important. I mean, who doesn't love some New York jokes? It's something everyone can relate to of any background. If you're in New York, you're gonna get the joke. So for sure. Yeah, that content will always.
What's it like? So that I wanted to ask this to a comedian. So obviously there's stages in your career where it's like you start off local and like kind of like the local scene, and you make those kinds of jokes where like local people. But what's it like to? I guess my question is, what's it like to scale up those jokes or like cater to a humor that's more universal where everybody gets?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I think for a stand-up comedian that is really in the game heavy for a while. So I can't answer for that, but in terms of content like online, right? I've made like really niche content, like very New York, or just like really Puerto Rican content, or even like my content for being a cycle breaker, right? Really niche content. And then I make content like, dancing with a Shrek in the club. That like, it doesn't matter where you are, who you are, every single person understands that experience from both sides.
Right.
So I think, leveling up your content, I wouldn't even call it leveling up. Changing up your content to attract a wider audience. Right. I mean, it's always a win. And how does it feel? It feels amazing. I'm like, look at this with all these millions of views. Like, people really rocking with this. Like, this is a universal experience. It feels so good to make something that just feels like a universal experience that everyone is like, girl, I'm with you. And it's a very connecting moment with strangers that you've never met. That feels great. That feels amazing.
That's dope. Super dope. Yeah. By the way, it was that, like, I still get notifications about somebody liking my comment on that video.
I still got people arguing on, like, there are people arguing on that right now that they've been arguing for like 2 days. 2 days. Bro. And the argument is about, like, this guy is like, you girls are literally destroying the party scene. Like, why can't you just go and have fun? Like, you're not marrying the guy. And the girls are like, yo, we don't want to dance with you. We just don't want to dance with you. Some of us want to dance with people that we think are hot, and that's it. Both sides are valid. Listen, I agree, because I'm that girl, and I am ruining the party scene, and I don't care. You know, whatever. I'm sorry. I don't want to dance with Shrek. But some people don't care, and I think they make it more fun. And they out there. Go find them. For the ones that are not, that's not them. That's not them. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do?
I commented.
Real quick.
Right in you. So the comment was, man, Shrek just got tried. I remember seeing that at a party when we were kids. You would walk up to the girl and then she would float away like a jellyfish. I didn't even think like that was super funny. And over like there's like 5,500 people have liked the comment and like respond to me. I'm like, yo, I need to think about this twice when I comment on Jazz's thing.
Now you're gonna feel the pressure. Like, what am I gonna say on this post that might blow up? Like,
bro, I didn't think it was gonna get that much love. That's pretty crazy. Like,
no, I'm glad it did.
Like, one man's trash is another man's treasure. Is that the saying? Like, I've seen jokes. We could use jokes, but we could use anything. Like, I'll use myself as an example. I've made shorts where like they're like motivational, inspirational, and I'm like, yo, this thing's gonna get 2 million views. 2 million, it gets 2 views. Nobody watches that shit. And then I make another one where it's super random. It's about some stuff I didn't even care about. 80,000, 90,000 views. Like,
yeah,
what? Like,
that's why you can't have a goal. For me, every time I drop a video, I'm like, that's a hit. That's the one. That's the one. As long as you're loving your stuff, then you'll be happy. Sometimes I don't get it. I'm like, why didn't people like that one? I thought that was great. Sometimes I'm confused about it, but so not everything hits. I'm happy when it does, and I'm happy if it doesn't hit. I'm laughing at it. So thank me.
I recently started following this girl on YouTube called Bria Jones, and her story is pretty cool. For a long time, she was really stagnant on YouTube and pretty much had the same amount of subscribers. It was like 9,000 or 10,000 or something. And it stayed the same. And she was trying all these different things to get more followers. And she said, bro, one day I just got tired of it. And I said, no one's going to follow me. I don't care if anybody follows me. I'm going to do what I like. And I'm going to create the content I want to create. Because if they're not going to follow me, I don't care either way. So she started making the content she liked. And now she has 200,000, like a year later, is 200,000 subscribers on YouTube.
Yeah, because it's authentic.
Like, right? So that's been people feel that from the get. Like, just do what you love. Who cares? You're going to get judged whether you're fantastic at it or you're like, who cares? You're going to get judged no matter what, whether you choose to do it or not. So just do it. Do what you love.
Yeah. When you move in authenticity that way, the universe answers, and people that rock with it are going to rock with it. But that is the only way that you could actually be happy in what you're doing. So if people are not loving my stuff, obviously I have a goal of like wanting to gain more traction and wanting more followers, hoping I could get like in front of the right eyes and a huge opportunity might come my way. But that's like hoping for something to come to you, right? That's like trying to attract something, which is great. But, then there's like another lane of like, okay, well, how am I also attacking that at the same exact time while attracting it to give and take? And yes, there are times where I'm like, damn, this isn't working. But as long as like you're just doing the thing that you love, it's fine. It's actually okay because you're still doing the thing you love, and you know that you still have a plan of attack from the other end. So maybe you're not attracting in that very moment, and you're not getting the love and the external validation. That's fine, because you still have this other journey that you're doing at the same exact time as that, where you're going to get after it in your authenticity. And the more you lean into that, the more the attraction will come. But everyone has seasons, and I wish that I could see my IG stats on a huge graph so that everyone could just see it's literally like this. It's literally like that. I hit 5 million followers, 5.5 million accounts, not followers, just like reach.
You reached 5 million. Yeah.
I reached 5.5 million this past month. But like next month, if I don't have another viral video this month, the next month I'm gonna be back at like what, 1 million. You know, not like 1 million's bad, not like 1 million's bad.
1 million,
but, you know,
just 1 million, you know, whatever. Just
1 million
you know.
accounts. No, it's not bad. My point is though, it's like up and down, up and down, up and down. And that's totally fine. That's part of the journey, which is why you need to just be authentic to yourself. So that way you're journeying it, whether it's up or it's down, and journeying it, enjoying it.
That's awesome. It brings real joy to my heart to see you doing really well.
Thank you. You too.
No, of course. And what excites me is like you can do so much more. Like how much more can Jazz do? Right?
Listen, when I hit the point where I have a manager and you know, my agent is booking me mad gigs and I have no dates, no like part-time job, like all my money's coming in from my hustles, that's when I'm gonna be on one, because that's literally when I would be 100% doing my thing. Like 100%. And I say 100% because right now I'm doing my thing, but of course I have my part-time job. But at the same time, when you are managing your own schedule, so much that takes a lot of energy because you're talking to so many different people. So I really yearn for the day where I could just be talent and just show up and do my thing and then bounce. The day's coming. The day's coming.
It's a matter of time at this point. I mean, the people have spoken, you know, like social media is a good reflection of like the free market. You know what I mean? When you put a product out there, people like it or they don't. That's why I love the free market and I love capitalism, because it's like, if you do something and people like it, you're going to be successful. And if people don't like it, you won't be. Like, the market responds to you, and the market has responded to you, Jazz. Like, people like you. So
no, I know, and I love people. I like them back. I like them back.
That's super dope.
It's true though. I'm with you. I'm with you on free markets. And that could be said for anything, creative, entrepreneur, and literally anything. There's a market for anything, you know?
For sure.
And it will tell you if you're good or bad. It will 100% tell you. But sometimes, at the same time, sometimes it's not about whether you're good or bad. It's about your delivery. And I think about like Russ, who's like my favorite rapper right now. And, you know, he dropped 10, 11 albums that all flopped. And now they're popping. Everyone's listening to those old songs that dropped 8, 9, 10 years ago. Them shits are popping. And it wasn't that the music was bad. The delivery was off. And he had to, you know, re-strategize. So that could be said for anything. But like you know, like he knew deep down, nah, my shit is fire. Something's up. And eventually figured out the delivery of it, which and it proved to be true. You need to be able to figure out if you're good or bad, or if like something else is off in your delivery strategy.
110%. And you're always you're one move away from being in a totally different space in your life.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? I think,
you know, I hit a space. Mm-hmm. I hit a space where I was just like, damn, I'm not rocking with anything in my life right now. And the only way to change your life is to literally make life-changing decisions. Like, not just make new decisions, make life-changing decisions. And that's like the hardest thing to do. So I have this board that I write shit on. And I literally wrote on the board, if you want to change your life, you have to make life-changing decisions, which is like huge, huge, huge decisions. It's not a bunch of little decisions that are going to move the needle. It's a bunch of little acts of the day that get you to where you want to go. But when it comes to decision-making and like changing your life, it's not little decisions. It is big decisions that are going to change your life.
Man, I don't know if you know who Alex Hormozi is, but I follow him. He's a pretty super successful guy. He said something that was crazy. He owns a bunch of companies that all combined do over 100 million a year. He's a super successful guy. And he said that choosing and deciding to quit his job was the hardest decision he's ever made. Like, it wasn't opening the business. It wasn't learning how to buy all these companies. No. Choosing and like being in alignment with quitting his job and like being conscious of the fact that I have to quit my job in order to pursue what I want to pursue in life. Mm-hmm. That was the hardest decision he's ever made in his life. And it's crazy to think that someone who's so successful now that to this day, he says that that's the hardest decision he ever made. And it goes back to what you said. The life-changing decisions, like, are
The worst
everything.
one.
And you know what
They're
those
so
are
hard
already.
to make.
They're super hard. Now the
They're the
question is,
hardest
are you
to
going to
make.
make them? You know?
Mm-hmm.
Super crazy.
And I think you can only make them, like if you're struggling on making those decisions, from my experience, they come from when I hit like the worst point. Then I'm like, okay, I have to do something because I actually can't live like this anymore. And not everyone has to get to that point. I would hope not everyone has to get to that point because it really sucks. So if you can make a life-changing decision because you could just foresee, okay, X amount of years from now, I'm going to be really fucking miserable. And then you can make that life decision now rather than later. That is like ideal. That is ideal. But for people that are like really far gone, it's going to be way harder.
For sure. And the longer I've noticed that whenever you have to do something hard in life, the more you prolong it, the harder
The
and
harder
the worse you're going to feel.
gets.
Like that procrastination, that shit is the devil, yo. Like procrastination makes things so much harder than they have to be. Like if you got to jump in the water, jump in head first. Don't toe dip. If you get in the water slowly, you're going to feel all that cold water every inch. But if you just jump in head first, it's going to get cold for a second and then you get used to it. You know what I mean? So I'm with you on that.
Yeah,
super
100%. You just got to take a leap. Take a leap of faith.
For sure. Jazz, thank you so much for being on my show. I appreciate you.
Thank you for having me. Always a pleasure.
Of course. We'll make this like a quarterly or biannual thing.
Yo, listen. next big milestone. I'll be back. Next big milestone.
Yeah.
But no, thank you for having me. You know, it's been a pleasure watching you grow as well and continue to lean into, you know, what you're doing. I think it's really important, just in general, for people to really lean into what they're doing, but also to make a platform to show others that they can do that. So thank you for even doing that and having a platform and allowing me to be a part of it.
Of course, definitely. So just wrapping up, I'm going to ask you 3 quick questions. It's how I wrap up all my episodes. So since this is a different Jazz from when you were on Montana Method 1.0, what is it nowadays that inspires you?
What inspires me? Now I am inspired by opportunity. And when I say opportunity, the world feels a lot bigger now that I left my 9 to 5. So I'm inspired by how many hours are in the day and how I am the leader of what I do with those hours. And it just feels really freeing. It also feels scary and exciting. It feels all of those, and all of that like really inspires me. Like, how can I make this day like the best day?
Super fire. I wake up every day with the thought of this could be the day where everything changed. You know what I mean? And it's that thought of like, man, today could be the day that I find that opportunity or this happens or whatnot. Like, it's super inspiring. And being in this space where that's literally, you know, content creation is that kind of place where, you know, one video could change everything for you and like take you to that next level. I'm with you. Opportunities.
Or even
super
like,
inspiring.
You know, I'm working on a project right now, and every time I do something for that project, like I get a little fire. I'm like, like this project is going to come to fruition. Like it was just an idea for so long, like it's gonna come to fruition. That's crazy. That's inspiring. So yeah,
super inspiring
in every way.
Yeah, I'm in the. I think I had told you I'm writing a comic book, and
yes,
I'm like this close to having it done. The first issue.
Nice, congratulations.
Thank you. And now I have it laid out. Like I've never written a comic book before, so I don't know how it is. And I actually have the format, like it's formatted out. And I look at it, and I just can't help but think of, I created this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
great.
The creative process is super inspiring, man. Super bringing something to life. It's undescribable.
Yes.
So, question number 2: what's next for Jasmine Ruiz?
What's next? So, short term, I have my Hilaria show on the 12th. Very excited for that. I love just working with so many talented comedians and writers. After that, I'm working on a project that I can't say anything about, but I hope to have it completed in September. And then after that, there's another project that I don't own that project, but someone asked me to be on this project, and I'm really excited for that. And I hope that will get underway at that time. So lots of projects next. And I've been doing like a bunch of cool photo shoots. So I'm going to be dropping that and, mailing that out to agencies and stuff. So I would just say what's next is getting all these projects wrapped. I'm like working on 2 things at the same time right now, and I'm dying. But after the 20th, I'll be able to take a break for a little while before jumping into the next thing. But yeah, that's what's next.
Short answer, Jazz doing her thing.
Yeah. What's next? Many projects, and you will see it soon.
There we go. I love it. Mm-hmm. And final question: how do you want to be remembered?
I want to be remembered as someone that lights up a room, no matter who's in the room, to bring a smile to anyone's face, no matter how dark their day is. Just a never-ending light.
I love it. There's always that energy of that person, and you feel it immediately whenever you're sitting in a room and then one person walks in and you're just like, yo, who is that? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So
I
strive to be, I always had this goal in the front of my mind ever since I was a kid. I remember being like this super broke 18-year-old kid working at McDonald's, like super broke. And I was living on my own, so I had to pay rent and all these things. Anyway, I was just going through a lot. And I remember this one guy came through the drive-thru and I took his order and whatever. And then like he stood there for a minute and like made me laugh, and super funny guy. And he said, man, you see, that's my goal every day, just to make one person laugh. Like if I can make somebody's day, my day's a good day. Take care. Mm-hmm. I'll see you. And then he left. And I said, wow, like I was having a terrible day. And because that guy made me laugh, my day is so much better. So
listen, comedians are humanitarians, as you know, a little bit. We out here saving the world in our own way. We may not be a teacher or a doctor, but we got
comedians
medicine.
Kept the world sane throughout these last 3 years. All right. There's no argument. You guys were the only ones who made any sense. You guys were saying everything on everybody's mind that everybody was scared of saying. Like, comedians saved the world.
It's so funny because I popped in 2020 on TikTok and I had so many people like, girl, thank you. Because you really make my days. Because nothing's going on. And I'm like, I love that so much.
Definitely. So that's what I try to do. If I could just, if one person somewhere is having a bad day and they see one of my videos and they feel better, man.
Yeah, you inspire somebody to keep going or to get their ass off the couch and get started. That's a win. And you might not even know it.
Huge. Definitely. Mm-hmm. So Jazz, thank you again. I appreciate your time. How can people connect with you?
You guys can hit me up on Instagram at the Jasmine Ruiz, Ruiz. That's my last name. Don't wear it out. Yep. The Jazz Ruiz on TikTok, and Twitter is the same as my IG. So holla at me there.
Super dope. Alrighty, guys. That was another episode of Montana Method Podcast with your host, Nelson. As always, push it to the limit. The world is yours. And if you are not chasing a dream, guys, life is meaningless. To the next one.
I've been out here hustling all my life. Every day we get into it. Really out here in these streets. That's day and night. Like there's nothing to it. When I was going through it, dog, I never got your call. I never asked for nothing, no. But now I want it all. I promise I'ma do it. Came from rags to riches. Rags to riches. Came from rags to riches. Rags to riches. Came from rags.